Hello everybody, welcome back to another War of the Visions video. Today is the day we're finally going to talk about Macherie and if she's any good. So we're going to go over her whole kit, we're going to do comparisons, we're going to talk about possible uses, and then in the future I've got a Macherie PvP video coming so you can see it all in action. So I thought this would be a good precursor to that video so we can kind of get an idea of what she's all about, and then if you're watching this late, a few days late, you might actually see the PvP video as well, so you can compare the two. First things first, let's go over her kit. She has 3 move, 1 jump, and then her main job is cleric, which is very interesting. She's also got monks and black mage sub jobs. She can use maces, and she can wear your typical mage equipment, your hat, cloth, and accessory. So far, there's nothing that special about her aside from the cleric job, which we've only really seen as a supporting job so far. So let's take a look at her stats. So right off the bat, HP is pretty good in the 2000s. That's fine for a mage, and that was certainly very good when the game came out because Macherie was a release unit. In fact, she was one of the paid bundles to get a guaranteed unit at the beginning along with Ramada. So clearly if they wanted people to buy her, she must be okay. She has okay TP and AP, like those are all fine for a mage. And then she has attack, and she has higher attack than you're going to see on a mage, and that's because she has an attacking sub job. She has monk, so monk's going to give her board stats that will support her attack, and cleric actually will give a little bit, I think, as well. Then she has magic, and we're going to compare her magic value to other mages after this so you can see if that stacks up. She gets a little crit rate, and then she has, I would say, below average dexterity and very, 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 very poor luck. She is super unlucky, poor girl. That's probably why she got kidnapped. And then her agility is also very low, and then another reason why she wasn't able to evade her kidnappers. So those add up right there. And then defense and spirit, she doesn't actually get either of those, which is a shame because I think that could have been a really cool opportunity for her to be like the original like tanky mage instead of Kilfei. She could have had some of those stats herself. With her magic or master ability, she's going to get some agility back. She'll get some TP as well, but it's not significant in my eyes. She will also get some luck as well from her board, but the thing is, her luck is still so low, so this is still not a huge deal to make up. So super underwhelmed by the majority of her stats. Next up is to compare her to other mages that we have in the game. So we're going to compare to Medina, to Kilfei, and then Ildira, who I still have the name incorrectly spelt from the last time I used that image. So we can see right off the bat, if we take a look at HP, that while Macherie at the beginning of the game would have looked really beefy compared to Medina, she's actually just run-of-the-mill considering the mages that we have now. In terms of AP and TP, she's about on par. She has that added attack, and then her magic is the lowest of the 4 mages. Now, every single one of these mages is going to get a magic up passive ability that they can equip, so Macherie's already lost out a little bit here. She does get crit rate while the others don't, but her dexterity is lower than everybody else's anyway, so that's kind of a shame. And then her luck is also just so much lower than everybody else's. It's crazy. Agility lower. And then you look at Kilfei and Uridia, and they've both got some defensive stats. So Kilfei's actually got defense and spirit, and then I'm getting so mixed up by my own image here. Ildira has some spirit as well. So Macherie's kind of losing out on the stat game here. So clearly, if her stats aren't that good, her kit must be incredible. We'll start by talking about her resistances, and she's going to be weak to dark, but it also means that she'll deal more damage to dark units, and she doesn't actually have any positive resistances to other elements. And when you take a look at her damage type resistances, she's weak to a lot of really good sources of damage. She's strong against striking and magic, but then weak to everything else, so that's not really looking great, although that's not anything you wouldn't expect from a mage anyway. The magic resistance is definitely welcome, and then she has sleep and confusion and charm resistance. Those are all in play. Those are all like okay resistances to have. Her limit burst, I'm going to talk about it here because it's really interesting, is going to be a light striking ability, and it's scaling on strength, which is a major problem for her, and it means that she'll never use it unless you wire all of her abilities to do so. But it's got a really interesting side effect that if she uses it, she'll get up to 45% addition to all of her resistances, which is crazy. And this would actually be really nice if she was able to use this turn 1, which she can use this right off the bat. She starts with a bunch of AP. So you can imagine if you were going to use her in some sort of resistance team and then she was able to go forward and you could guarantee that she could use Radiant Twin Strike, then maybe there'd be some sort of really cool turn where she could just take a bunch of hits. Unfortunately, she doesn't have the mobility or the agility or anything to be able to do that. So it's not actually that likely. Next up, we've got her support kit, and she's got two very interesting things here. The first is Spirit Up from Cleric, and what this gives you is 15 spirit. So although she didn't have the spirit naturally in her stats, she does actually get a significant amount of spirit from that passive. And then the other one that you want to watch out for is Magic Up level 1. So that's going to be essential for her to deal more damage and to heal more. So you definitely want to have those two equipped for sure. And then here is the one thing about Macherie that I think is just absolutely incredible. It is the best, my personal favorite counter in the game, which is Auto Cure. I think this is so good when you have somebody that has high faith and a bunch of magic and all that stuff. It can heal so much. And she can basically, if she can survive a hit, she can probably heal back to full and then take another hit and go back to full, as long as it's proccing, which is a big if, but at the same time, it's just such a cool ability. And I think this is kind of like the one thing that makes me hopeful that she can be used in some ways, that she has that survivability. She also has Fist Counter and Magic Counter, and both of those are fine. I mean, you're obviously going to use Magic Counter if you use one, and you're going to get her faith up and everything, but I think that Spirit Up, Magic Up, and then Auto Cure, those are your pretty much set abilities that you're going to use with her. So with her main job and then her sub skills, you can see them all here. She doesn't really get a lot that you're going to use often. So she gets Banish, but she also gets that from Black Mage. So she just basically gets 16 uses of it. She has 8 uses of Cure, and that's the only healing spell she gets. She gets Esunaga, which is very solid. It's really nice in the tower, but then not. We're really phrasing this mostly as a PvP discussion. That's how because most units can be used in the tower. Then she gets Calamity Guard, which is again very, very useful in niche situations, and then Erase, again very niche. And you don't often see this stuff being used in PvP at all. In the sub job, she'll get Pronged Staff, which is a really cool idea. It's an attack that will give you, will allow you to lower someone's agility. But once again, it is a strike attack. It is scaling on attack stat, not magic stat. And that means that she's just not likely to be up next to someone. She's not likely to use this because it won't deal as much damage as it would for her other skills. And that means that you're just not going to see it. She also gets Light Veil and Dark Veil, and I think these are both very, very interesting, and if you set up her skills a certain way, then I think there's possibly a cool unit here. But the problem is that as soon as you want to go that route and make her into some sort of crazy support unit, you just lose so many spells, and we'll look at that in a second when we talk about Black Mage. But when we take a look at Monk, she gets the basic Monk skills. She gets just a bunch of ways to deal some light striking damage, but her attack is just too low, and that is non-negotiable. There's really not that much you can do about it. You can build her an assault mace, but there's just really, it's not going to help that much. You're not going to use her in an attacking role over other units, and if you've gone into attack, then her magic's going to suffer and she won't be able to kind of pivot between two roles. Black Mage is where she probably is best suited. She gets a really big kit of spells. She gets Banish, Banish Ra, and Banish Ga, so just basically the full suite of stuff. But she misses out on things like Flare, which is definitely a big miss, but still has Bio and Drain and Sleep and all that kind of stuff. So this is definitely the way that I would use her as a black mage, and you can see that she'll be able to do decent damage with these skills, just like you'd expect Medina to do as well. All right, so Macherie's TMR. This is probably the best reason to max her. This TMR is crazy. It's an accessory, it's got good HP, it gives you defense and spirit and critical avoid, and that's all fine. Those stats are okay. It gives you a nice little mix, and anybody can equip it. But what's amazing is Knight's Blessing, and this skill is it's already going to heal for a bunch at level 0. So if you don't level it up, it's already useful at level 1. But it can, at max level, it's going to put a barrier that will reduce damage by 30% up to 3 times on everybody that it hits, including the user, and then heal for 210 times potency. And this heal, when I put this on Ildira, she can heal herself for, let's say, 2800, and then she could heal Dario, who has his faith all the way down to 30 right now, for about 1800. And then they both have the damage barrier as well, and that's just been absolutely massive. Now, this, something to consider is nobody's going to use this if no one's taking damage. So for example, you'd have to have someone that's damaged enough for a unit's AI to decide, I need to heal that person, then that unit's going to use it. So for example, somebody like Ramza would use this on someone if he would use Chant on that person, or same thing with Macherie or Ildira or Ayaka. They're going to use it if they would cast Cure or whatever they have on somebody. And this is really solid because it's instant cast. It happens right away. The downside is you've stacked for AoEs, but I really think that the upside is much, much greater the majority of the time. So this is a really cool spell. I think that I want to try. I haven't tried it on Ayaka yet, but I think it would be great for her to have some sort of instant heal besides her special, just for those times where people move out of Curaga, people die before Curaga goes off. I know it doesn't happen that often, but this TMR is absolutely bonkers, and I love it. And even if you put it on someone like Delita that could use Chant if they needed to, that's still okay. It's not going to heal very much at all, but it is going to apply that barrier if you've taken the time to level it up, and that's still really good. So I definitely highly recommend this TMR. It's been a mainstay in all of my formations since I got it. Finally, we're going to talk about roles for Macherie. So you might think that she could be a healer, but it's really tricky because she only has Cure and then her TMR, or any other TMR that might be able to give her some sort of healing potency. And the problem is that Cure doesn't heal for very much, and even with my now +5 Platinum Mace, it's still not significant. Macherie's AI, as you're going to see in the PvP video, is not very good either. Her threshold to heal is so low, like she'll heal almost immediately. It takes her out of the battle. She's not even healing for very much, which means that if someone does get very low, her heal won't take them out far enough for her to then DPS next turn. If they're still at low, what's going to happen is she'll keep healing them over and over, and it will just never end, and she'll often be the last person left on the team before she realizes what's happened. So it's really tricky, but I just, at this time, I don't see it being possible for Macherie to be a healer. So she could be a damage dealer, and you could turn off heals, because you're going to need to turn off Cure if you're going to focus her as a damage dealer. But then you've just kind of created a lesser Medina. You've lost the mobility of Medina with Shukuchi. You've lost the agility of Medina. You've lost a bit of magic, and you've lost something like Flare and Cosmo Plume as a special. So why would you use Macherie that way when she just has less of all the things that Medina has? And the reason might be that you know, she's a different element, and that she has some other supporty type things that she can do. So maybe we look at her in a support role. Maybe there's a couple ways we could go. We could do something with the Veils where you're targeting dark teams or light teams, and you've got her set up so that she's going to use Veil spells. And just keep in mind that as soon as you do that, you lose access to all the Black Mage magic. We could look at her as just try to do hybrid healing and damage, but as you see in the videos, that does not work that well. So then the final reason that I was thinking about, why would you ever use her over Medina? Not even Kilfe or Ildira. Why would you ever even use her over Medina? And the final thing that I thought of would be some sort of magic resist team. And Kilfe and Ildira can both be used this way as well. Both of them have Spellblade, they have resist magic, they're fully capable of doing this, they have the HP and some spirit as well. But Macherie actually gets a ton of spirit from her passive. She has some HP as well, and she's got magic resistance, so you could use her in this role, and that's where you might use her over Medina. If you used her with a couple other, like a Spellblade in combination that could use resist magic, and then all of a sudden you do have somebody that is able to survive and then maybe use auto cure and survive even longer and kind of hold out so that you can win long fights in a kind of a magic tanky battle. So there's possibly a way to use her there, and I'm going to show you in my PvP video if that's really possible. I'm going to try to do those matchups as much as I can, and show her in other matchups as well. But when it comes down to it, Macherie has been given the short end of the stick in terms of her stats, her composition of her jobs that contribute to those stats, and just overall, like her full kit, her master ability, everything is shortchanged, and they did a real disservice to her, I think, personally. And I think it was also totally uncool to offer her as a paid unit at the beginning of the game when it launched. That was totally offside, and anyone that bought that, let me know how you felt about it if you did in the comments below, because that's insane. They should never have offered her there, because at the very beginning when a game launches, if people haven't seen tier lists or whatever, they might not know what they're buying. They just see that, hey look, Macherie is a cool character, her like design thematically is very cool. She's a warrior princess with monk and stuff, and she's a total babe, so I'm gonna buy her. I've got money to spend, and then that can deceive people. So I'm hopeful of a few things. One, that we get some sort of second master ability for Macherie, or some tuning of her skills. I would love to see her special change to scale off magic. I would love to see her, for all clerics, for prong staff to also scale off of magic attack, or not magic attack, just magic stat. And then I would love to see something addressed with her agility or her mobility, one of the two. And it doesn't have to be through the master ability necessarily. It could also be, now we know, in Japan they're going to get a vision card that is going to have abilities as per usual, but it's also going to have some ways to buff the MR Durando unit. It's going to give him, it's basically like a master ability on a vision card, so if you equip it to that unit, that they will get some boosts in their stats. So I'm very hopeful that Macherie will get the same treatment as well and get some boosts to her kit to make her a little bit more viable. And those boosts have to be something like increased agility, increased movement. It doesn't have to be all of the above, it has to be some of the above. And then something to make her a little bit more unique from Medina, because if you're just taking her as a black mage, just use Medina instead, because she's just better. So that's it. That's the video. Thanks for coming by. Sorry to disappoint if you were looking for some hidden wisdom here about how Macherie can be a top tier unit. It's just not possible, in my opinion. But stick around for the PvP video, because that's going to show you exactly what I'm talking about, and we'll kind of just go from there.